Hi, I'm Dr. Angela McBurdy of DoctorFlute.com. Today's flute tip is on blowing across the wet. Now, what I mean by that is the wet part of the inside of your lip. When you blow across that, when you feel it, and so, I have a lot of students like, all right, how do you do that? Well, you want it to feel a little bit cold, because when you have warm air blowing across something wet, it's going to feel cold on you. So if I practice just doing, and I know loosely forming an embouchure, but I let that the air coming out move my lips. So I feel the air hitting, the inside of here or the inside of your upper lip, and I feel that loosely form an embouchure, but I feel a little bit cold there. Okay. When you do that, there's a couple reasons why you want to blow across the wet. One of the reasons is it so loosens up your embouchure. It is just fabulous, because if I do that, I can't do. If I'm tight, there's no way I'm blowing across the wet part of my lips. So if I blow across, it is really nice and loose. Also, when you do that, especially, so talking really second register to third register, not only does it loosen your embouchure for those registers, but it also just gives a clear path, unobstructed path for your tone to come out. So I opened with the 4A Fantasy, the opening there. I'm just going to paw that first note. And just whoo, maybe not even paw, just whoo it. And the idea is that the sound comes from nowhere. It just all of a sudden starts. And you're like, wait, oh yeah. But then again, I always heard that playing. And not just, oh, I started. I don't want to feel that way. So if I blow across that wet, it just starts the note so beautifully. Gives that tone a clear path. Now I have to make sure I hold on to it. I heard just a little twinge of the tone wanting to go down to the lower one. So I have to make sure I keep that ooh, and make sure that I don't allow the airstream to drop while I'm doing that. You heard a little twinge of it wanting to go down again. That's because I let the airstream go a little bit. And there I've started the 4A Fantasy with just this beautiful melodic opening line, and I'm going to keep that, not change my embouchure all the way until I get to the A. I think it's on the second line there. I don't have to change anything. I don't have to firm up. I don't have to tighten. I do have to have a lot of air pressure to keep it there, right? But you can do this with your third octaves. Let me go with a high E. I work with that with my students in that third octave. Now, it's a little bit hard to do that, say, on a high B flat in that third octave. But on that E, I can make just a beautiful E sound that's not tight and not pinched, and just make it come out soft and glorious. Because I'm blowing across the wet part of my lip. Let's see, can I do it on F? G. I find I have to have a little more firmness, only for one reason only. I'm still blowing across the wet. It's just a little bit tighter just because of how I have to hold it. You feel like it's a little less secure without your thumb on. So that makes me have just a little bit less looseness for the IG. A. And I can still do it for the high A. What I notice that I have to do, I can still keep this really loose. I can still blow across the wet, but I have to have a lot more pressure. So I'm really pushing up with my stomach muscles. Let's go with B. Now, I'm much more firm around here. And I think you can notice that. But you know what? I still have the air going across the wet. And what that does is it stops making our third octaves so tiny and squished. I can keep it beautiful and just keep blowing across that wet. I still feel the coldness. There's a little bit of a cold feeling. As I go lower, the cold is here. As I go higher, the colder is more focused on my upper lip. But it helps me to get a beautiful, round, warm sound in that upper register because I'm blowing across the wet. Now, is it necessary to think about that in the low register? Let's find out. You know what I think makes, I'm still staying as loose. I don't feel it blowing across the wet there. And I think that's because I have to lower my jaw for that low register, right? We lower the jaw, the upper lip comes over. So there's not as much evenness of the lips. So when we're really blowing across the wet, we're blowing up or even a little higher. So middle register up. When I'm blowing lower, I might have a little bit of air hitting the inside of my lower lip, but I mainly focusing on lowering my teeth and not blowing as much. So I'm not thinking about that quite so much in my first octave. So where you want to blow across the wet and really think about it is your middle to your upper register. It's a beautiful way to loosen up. And to get a clear, unobstructed sound that just blossoms as you play and add vibrato to it. Work on that. See what it can do to your whole tone. It gives you another dimension in tone color and allows you to put vibrato on it in a different way that just is going to, just be so gorgeous. Try that. It helps you to not tighten up and it's going to improve your tone quality all the way. That's today's flute tip.